Edward, thank you so much for meeting me today to talk about Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. So yourself and Tom Cruise worked on The Last Samurai 13 years ago, and I understand that you two were looking for a project to work on since then, and then Jack Reacher came along. So how did you end up deciding on this film, and how did it take so long?
Well, I mean, I decided because he picked up the phone and called me and said, I found something I think we might want to do together. And I was very happy to read the book and then talk about it. I think in the ensuing time, we've each pursued our own agendas happily. I mean, obviously, the friendship we had and the collaboration was a happy one, so we were very predisposed to try to find something. But he's made a number of Mission Impossible movies and a couple of others. I've made several, and I think that's just what happens, is that you get very involved, and each choice somehow leads to another choice, and somehow you start to digress. But in this case, we've been able to come back together. And
actually, speaking of your work, what's always struck me is the variety of and range of projects that you work on, between just some of your films, including Love and Other Drugs, Jack Reacher, The Last Samurai, Defiance, Glory, Blood Diamond, and even a Bobby Fischer movie recently.
Yeah.
So has that always been a really important aspect of your work, to keep it very varied?
Yeah, for better and for worse, I was trained in the repertory theater. And that means that you did Molière one day and Pinter the next. You know, you really wanted to have a certain promiscuity of interest and even ability.
Was there anything new that you wanted to bring to this movie, or did you want to keep it very kind of loyal to the franchise?
I wanted to make it its own standalone film, and in that sense, I think the idea of really featuring these three relationships, the relationships among these actors on a slightly deeper level, I think was a departure. I think I very much liked what Chris did in the first movie. It was deliberately cool and sort of removed in this way, as many of those movies are. And I wanted this one to have a slightly warmer color to it. And so the depth of his relationship with the character playing the girl who may or may not be his daughter, for instance, and with Kobe, I think they have a certain depth to them.
What scene are you happiest with the end product of?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I look, the action scenes are great, and the parade scene at the end is impressive, but I tend to like the smaller moments, the ones that are just very personal.
I would think the very same, like even just the simplicity of, you know, that ending and how it does kind of go back to the relationships and go back to the emotional is very sweet. Do you think you'll collaborate with Tom Cruise again, even possibly in the near future?
Well, we have no plans in the near term. I'd like to think before we're both sort of put up to pasture that we'll find something.
I understand that with regards to your future projects, you are kind of in talks to do The American Can, which stars Will Smith. Has there been any kind of movement on that, or is there anything you can tell us?
It's a difficult one, because they're the kind of movies that are increasingly difficult to get made in today's Hollywood studio system. It's a very serious movie. It has humor in it, but it's about something that requires some real resources and some real courage on the part of the financier.
Because it's about the aftermath of
Katrina.
Hurricane Katrina, I understand. Okay, so it's still kind of a work in progress.
Oh, yes.
Working on it. The Great Wall is coming out later this year.
Yeah.
And you wrote the story behind that. How have you felt with regards to kind of some of the controversy it's come under?
Typically, and this is with all due respect to the entertainment press, I think that people look at a single thing and try to describe the whole thing. It was once described as a number of blind men trying to describe an elephant, and one holds the tusk and thinks it's one thing, and one holds the tail and thinks it's another. It suddenly became a subject of, as if it was some sort of cultural appropriation of Chinese culture. It's quite the opposite. It venerates Chinese culture, and in fact, of the heroes, 4 of the 6 of them are Chinese, and so it just Matt Damon happens to be a movie star, and so the assumption is therefore it's about only Matt Damon, but it's not.
And then my very last question for you, Edward, was, this one is just purely for fun. What are 3 or 4 of your favorite movies, ones that have really inspired your career?
Oh my God, there are so many. Better I could talk about directors. I mean, I very much loved the work of John Ford. But also the work of Truffaut and Ettore Scola. As a contemporary director, there's a man named Sidney Pollack in America who was very mentorial to me. And then some of the more workmanlike American directors like John Sturges and Alan Dwan, some of the great directors who just told great stories.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.